I think a lot of people are lost, bro. I feel like a lot of people just copy what everyone else is doing. So if someone does something and it looks popular, everyone's gonna jump on it, do you understand? But no one's like, nah, this ain't right and that's not right, do you understand? They don't have no direction. They don't know where they're going, they don't know what they want to do.
I don't care what anyone says. Good people get tired of being good to ungrateful people. You can be the nicest person in the world, but eventually you're going to hit your threshold and you're going to say enough is enough.
We've created a generation of narcissistic women, and what's happened is the rise of social media and the rise of online dating and the rise of feminism has taught women that they are not to blame for any poor choices. Every poor choice is glamorized. So if you want to be a sex worker, it's great. If you want to post in bikini pictures online, it's fine. If you want to be with it, every poor choice is glamorized. And every internal reflection is seen as gaslighting yourself. So they've even got terms for internal reflection to prevent it happening. And so what will happen is they are trained to not reflect on themselves because we've been told we've been oppressed for so many years. Now it's time to make sure we project. And so we don't take any accountability. And as a result, when we get into relationships, if we don't feel completely soothed all the time, he must be a narcissist. He must be a manipulator. He must be gaslighting. He, rather than I. And unfortunately, we've got an online market that caters to that wounded woman, that caters to that entitled woman, and caters to that narcissistic woman. And it's so wild to me that so many women talk about narcissism, but the society today is just catering to narcissistic women. If I post a picture online, a bikini picture online, there's nothing my husband can do that could compete with that level of accolade.
Attention.
Impossible.
The compliments, the attention, the messaging, the you're so sexy and beautiful, and all these different things from thousands or potentially millions of men
around the world
who have money and all these things.
Yeah, and there's nothing he can do. He can't post online and get the same reaction. And more so, he can't give me the same level of validation. So what's happened is we've created a setup in society that means men have to compete with a level of validation they can't compete with.
Infidelity is a result of men not being masculine and women not being feminine. If a woman is cheating, it's because she has a man that accepts the unacceptable and is unwilling to walk away when his boundaries are broken. And because she recognizes this, his days are numbered. And good women filter themselves off away from men that are too agreeable. Now, when women get cheated on, again, it's a lack of femininity. Married men that cheat, it's not that they love somebody else so much or they found someone more beautiful. They simply have a wife that is no longer catering to their needs in any way, shape, or form. Part of femininity is, I know he's coming home. Let me just warm up a bit of food. Or I know that he's got work at an early start. Let me just iron that shirt quickly because he's going to make a mess if he does it. It's part of femininity. What would the feminist movement say to that? They would argue that he's not a baby. But here's the reality. They are babies. Of course, he can make his own coffee in the morning, but there's something about your wife just putting it there without you asking for it. That just makes you feel seen. If she's never cooked a meal, she's never asked how his day is, but he's paying for everything, giving her a great life, they build resentment. So when women get cheated on, it's their lack of femininity. And when men get cheated on, it's their lack of masculinity.
When you have children, you have to encourage them to take risks, because they have to grow up and take their place in the world. You can't protect them too much, because if you do, you destroy them. So you don't want your mother to do everything for you, that's for sure. And so there's a certain amount of harshness that goes along with that, because you have to separate yourself from your child and allow them to make hurtful mistakes, right? I mean, it's very difficult if you're a compassionate person to stand back far enough to let your children take necessary risks.
If the guy feels, I would love to take care of her for the rest of my life, that's feeling like a man in response to a woman. When she feels, I trust this guy, right behind him no matter what he wants to do, that's feeling like a woman. The other way around is not good, because in the marriage, the man has to be the giver, the provider. So to really become intimate means you've got to trust each other completely. Otherwise you hold back. You got to be constantly conscious of protecting yourself. It's a mess.
If he wants a sandwich,
you make daddy a sandwich. Well, okay, let me ask you this. If me and you out and somebody say something slick to you,
you punch him in the face.
You want me to smack him in his mouth, right? If we walking up to the car and I don't open your car door, what do you say?
Open the door.
So you make daddy a sandwich.
I will.
Them dog days you got, bring me in that motherfucker with you, bro. It don't matter what's going on. Man, talk to me. Your life way important than his money. Talk to me. It's life, bro. We gotta deal with it.
Imagine that you sleep casually with 100 women a 6-month period or a 3-month period. And I'm not making light of that. It's not nothing to be attractive to women like that. The problem with treating other people as casual sexual partners, let's say, is that you also treat yourself that way simultaneously. And I don't think that that does you any good, unless that's what you want to be. I wouldn't say that's a particularly noble ambition. You should be able to do better than that.
My father was like very poor. My kids, they have everything. For me, to get money, my father all the time tell me, you want money? Okay, deserve. Do something. When my kids ask me something, I all the time say, not everything like you want. But they don't understand. They think like, but you can give us or something. Like, you have to put this on their brain, not to like punish them or something. No, teach them.
I actually recently just got into it with my dad, and
call your father and say, Dad, I love you. Doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. Dad, I love you and I respect you and I'll see you when I get home. Because one of the biggest mistakes I made, so one day I get a call, my sister's no longer with us. And then I get another call, hey man, Kobe Bryant just passed away. And all I had to do was pick up the phone and say, hey, I miss you. Hey, I love you. Hey, what you doing? So after we get off this, call your father and say, Dad, I love you.
Great lie we tell ourselves is that people who are evil are not like us. Everybody in history who has sinned is a person who's very different from me. The best protection against evil is recognizing that it lies in every human heart and the possibility that it takes you over. And so you have to be very cautious.
Don't go around trying to fix broken people. A mentor of mine has a saying, I don't fix broken birds. If you don't succeed, the bird's going to die in your hands anyway. And if you do, it's just going to fly away. Broken people are broken people for a reason. I understand if you have a sense of moral obligation towards them, but if you don't go around trying to fix broken people.
Life got chapters. Each chapter in your life, whether it's a positive or a negative, before you move on to that next chapter, you got a decision to make if I'm going to correct what I did in the chapter before. If that book ended bad, which is your life, you wrote that book.
People were complaining about Tiger Woods and his affairs. Many men aren't having the affairs of Tiger Woods. But that's not because they're good men. It's because they don't have a busload of Swedish bikini models waiting for them at the final hole. The idea would be that you should conduct yourself so that you are attractive to many women. Maybe that you have your pick of them, but then you should pick one.
For me, like a relationship with my father, with my mother, most important. We're still living together. If you're youngest boy in your family, you have to live with your parents. We have to follow religion, we have to follow tradition. This is the only way how you become like a good person. And more important than UFC belt, about my career or about money, like
that feeling you'll get when she wakes you up in the morning and says, here's your cup of coffee. I know you didn't sleep well last night. Have a great day. Have a productive day at work. I love you. I miss you. A life without that would be an empty, vacuous existence.
It's a great quote. The 100 men that go into war, 10 shouldn't even fucking be there. 80 of them are just targets. 9 do most of the fighting. 1 is a warrior. There's so many people who just show up to life. I wanted to be part of that 9, and I'm working towards being that 1.
Look around and see what bugs you in your room. Do I like this room? No, it bugs me. Okay, why? That corner's kind of ugly and the light there isn't very good and my clothes closet's a mess, so I don't even like to open it. Okay, that's a lot of problems.
Research has found that there's like a Pinocchio's nose effect, that when we lie, the tissue in our nose gets a little bit itchy. We eye block. Yeah, you know, it's just been really hard, and they'll futz at their eyes because they want to block it out with a high blink rate. I mean, I just really want to, I don't know, I just want to talk about that rapid blink rate. And that is because we are trying to block it out. And the last one is mouth touch. Liars, like when I ask my daughter, did you take the cookie? She'll go, no.
If you are a real man, you want to provide for your family. That's what men do when you have a family. Any man, when you have a concern as to how you're going to pay your bills,
scary time.
There is nothing worse.
The purpose of your life is not going to be happiness. There will be difficult periods in your life, and happiness won't suffice then. What you can have in your life is an adventure. The truth is the best adventure. There's no doubt about that.
One thing you can do to alleviate anybody's suffering, fully accept them and listen to them. Don't give them advice. You know, people feel better if you just listen to them with deep empathy, which means you feel what another person feels. People go to therapists to get advice. Therapists don't do that. Good therapists listen.
The father's not in the home, the boy will find the father in the streets. If the streets raise you, then the judge becomes your mother and the prison becomes your
home. I saw it in my generation and every generation before me and everyone since.
My wife and I, we spend about 5 hours a week dancing upstairs in our... That's all right. Like for a long time, 2 years, every evening I spent with her I thought would probably be the last one. So the fact that that's not the case anymore, and that we can listen to music. I know how to stand up to a man who's unfairly trespassing against me. And the reason I know that is because the parameters for my resistance are quite well defined. We talk, we argue, we push, and then it becomes physical. Okay, that's forbidden in discourse with women. You know, if you're talking to a man who wouldn't fight with you under any circumstances whatsoever, then you're talking to someone to whom you have absolutely no respect.
There is no such thing as toxic masculinity. You're either masculine or you're toxic. Now, someone who's toxic is typically a nice guy. Nice guys are passive aggressive. Nice guys are not willing to open doors. You know who the nice guys are, because if you're masculine, then you're chivalrous. You are willing to step in the gap to protect those who can't protect themselves. You are willing to be a gentleman, be a servant, and to be a savage.
I'm 38. I feel like I've got through my early 30s almost luckily when I look at what my friends have to deal with their children. I almost feel a little bit blessed. What do you say to that?
It starts to get pretty lonesome in life after 45 if you don't have a family. You're going to live till you're 90 in all likelihood, and it's not easy to consider your life across its entire span. And there's something to be said for developing a very close-knit, intimate community around you if you can manage it. You have children and then you have grandchildren, and what I've experienced in my life, although I've had a very productive career, it's definitely been the case for me that my family has been more and more important to me as I've got older, and I don't think that that's uncommon experience.
You can biochemically become happy. There's a chemical in your body known as serotonin. It's known as the happy chemical. Most of the serotonin in your body is produced here in your gut. Your gut operates as a brain. So the serotonin that's formed inside of your gut is produced by having a healthy gut. How do you have a healthy gut?
Diet.
By having a healthy diet.
Nutrition.
So most of you guys would automatically be a lot healthier and happier had you instilled the ability of having a good diet equating to what? A good gut.
If you make yourself weak and you suffer stupidly because of it, you will become bitter. And once you become bitter, you will become vengeful. The person who went and shot up the elementary school in Connecticut, what was he up to exactly? Just exactly where did he dwell and why? Weakness made him suffer stupidly, and that made him cruel, and that was just the beginning.
By 2030 or something, 50% of women will be without a man. That's the direction we're heading, because two part of the problem. The men that are looking for those traditional values are starting to go overseas, and then two, the other half of the men are just checking out completely. They don't want to deal with women at all. So this is going to be a big issue that women are going to deal with in the future as their options dwindle.
I was talking to my therapist. I hate that my highs feel so high in my life and the lows feel so low. I just want it to be in the middle, just be nice. She says you have to realize if you're looking at a heart monitor, it's going up and down. And if you were in control, you'd put it in the middle. That means you flatline. Life is all about the highs and lows.
That's a good one.
And whenever you're in a low or a high, life has told you and will remind you that you'll go to the opposite at any given time.
A man knows in 6 months if you're the one. You have to offer what we want. We know. And then we ain't going nowhere. When a woman does forgive you, it's because she loves you. She thought more highly of you. She goes through a period while she's trying to figure out how she got it wrong. Now, you can throw him away if you want to, but you could be tossing away a better man now that has learned this lesson. Sometimes when you get the man back, you get a better man.
I think depression is a luxury, because where I'm from, you can't afford to be depressed. You got to pay the bill, right?
Right. By 2030, 50% of women will be without a man. The men that are looking for those traditional values are starting to go overseas. The other half of the men are just checking out completely. They don't want to deal with women at all. So this is going to be a big issue that women are going to deal with in the future as their options dwindle.
Feelings aren't real. Feelings are a reaction to a perceived wound that's never been healed.
What made me really start saving money is called delayed gratification. I ain't about to go blow this house right now. If I can't buy it 10 times, I don't want it. I'll get there when it's my turn. It just ain't my turn to be where he at. So I'm not in competition. I'm cool where I'm at.
What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? That you can survive any heartbreak, any breakdown, any betrayal? What would you do if the things that you were afraid of you knew were absolutely nothing? They were all opportunities for you to get stronger in your resiliency. What would you do? Who would you love? How big would you play? How would the world benefit differently because who you've decided to be?